What? Bhagavatam. It's also the day that Prabhupada left India. So I'm going to read a little bit first. Okay. Jai Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Gopi Janabalaba Giri Bharadhaji Gopi Janabalaba Giri Bharadhaji Vivadata Yasudanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasudanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tera Manachari Yamuna Tira Manachari Jayarantu Madhuva Kunya Bivahuti Jayarandhu Madhuva Kunya Bivahuti Gopi Dana Malava Giri Bharadhaji Gopi Jana Balava Giri Bharadhaji Yasudanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasudanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Panachari Yamuna Tera Bharachati Jayarantu Madhuva Kunja Bihati Jayarantu Madhuva Kunja Bihati Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa also Tada Sajashi Shimad, His Divine Grace Abhaya Chandanana Bhaktivedanta Goswami. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON founder Acharya. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya. Prabhu Nityananda Shidwe Gadadha. Shiva Siddhi Gaur Bhakta Vrindigajaya Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopi Gopinath Sai Kunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Maturanam Ki Jai Jagadada Sami Ki Jai Yamunamaya Ki Jai Shrimati Lasidevi Ki Jai Samveda Bhakta Vrindigajaya Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pashtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharani Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deja Tarni. So before reading from Srimad Bhagavatam today, I want to mention and read a little bit, because it is actually the commemoration of the day that Srila Prabhupada left India to come to save us, come to the United States. So this is an excerpt from the Prabhupada Lilamrita. So Omigana Timidendasha Ganhanjana Shlakaya Chaksuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So I was also thinking it was quite interesting as we're reading from the Bhagavatam about the kidnapping of Rukmini, and there's all these Kshatriyas there, that Prabhupada had the mood of a Brahmin, but also the mood of a Kshatriya. Like Prabhupada would say, we want devotees who can fight for Krishna. The Prabhupada said, we don't want sit-down type devotees. We want devotees like Arjuna. And Prabhupada stated this in his final years. And we could see that Prabhupada always had this like Kshatriya, transcendental Kshatriya, fighting spirit for Krishna. And I was listening to one class last night where a devotee came to Prabhupada, and he was from Sweden. And he was making excuses of why he couldn't set up a temple there. Things weren't working out. And Prabhupada basically said that he never gave up. No, Prabhupada never. He said, I never gave up. So in other words, why should these people give up? So this giving up, or like failure, or impossible, is not a word in a devotee's dictionary. So devotees, Ekha Kurunandana, like was being discussed the other day. Ekha Kurunandana. Ekha Kurunandana, Drishtabhru was talking about this from the Bhagavad Gita 2:42. Vyavasayadmika Buddhir, Ekha Kurunandana. Those who are on this path, they're one-pointed, Ekha, Ek means one, Kurunanda. Vo Shaktas, and those who are not going to be successful in Krishna consciousness, their intelligence is many branched. And why is their intelligence many branched? That's described in second chapter, verse 44. Bhogaishvarya prasaktanam taya pratikchetasam vyavasaya megabuddhir samado navadiyate. Because they're attached to Bhoga and Aishvarya. And it's interesting that the person who came to speak to Prabhupada to tell him about how he could not, it was a devotee, not just person, how he couldn't or was impossible to set up a temple in Sweden, he came with his extremely attractive wife who wasn't even dressed properly to appear before Prabhupada. So Prabhupada was sort of making an indirect reference to that. So, people are attached, and not that someone needs to give up their wife or the wife needs to be ugly or anything like that. That's not the point. But if one's attached to Bhoga and Aishvarya, to enjoyment and opulence in this world, then Samadho navidhyate. One cannot become absorbed in Krishna consciousness. So basically this Krishna consciousness is meant for what? Vairagya Vidya. And this is a poem written by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga Shikshartha Eka Purusha Purana Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shiviradari Kripam Abhuri Yastvam Aham Prabhadye, describing Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is come to teach us Vairagya and Vidya, transcendental knowledge. Shikshartha Eka, Artha, this is the goal. Eka, his one goal. Purusha Purana, here's the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shriviradari, who has appeared in the form of Shri Krishna Chaitanya. Kripam Buddhi Yastvam Ham Prapadye, I surrender to him. Anyway, so Srila Prabhupada in this particular story, not just a story, I mean this particular historical account, is showing his great determination in spite basically of having almost no support except for Krishna's support. And of course Krishna says, Ananya Shintayantamam Yejanak Paripatiste Tesham Nitabhyuktamam Yoga Shema Vahamiham. That if one has my support, Krishna says, if one is focused on Krishna, there's that Vyavasayatmaka Buddh here again. Ananyas Chintayantamam, which is actually the same thing. Vyavasayatmaka Buddh here, Ekeha Kurunandana, is one-pointedness. Ananya is another way of saying it. No other. You understand? It's the same thing as saying, are you one-pointed, or someone is one-pointed? You could say it one way, and another way to say it is someone has no other focus other than. You understand? It's actually one is a negative way of saying the same thing. Another way, one is a positive way of saying the same thing. Ananyas chintayantamam yejanak paripasite tesham nityavayuktamam yoga kshema vahamya. For those who are actually or have no other focus other than serving Krishna, which is the same thing as vairagya vidya. Vairagya. Vairagya means not being attached to passionate activities like Raj, Vairagya, which is this. It's the same thing as Ekeha Kurunandana, which is Krishna consciousness. So Srila Prabhupada manifested this particular determination, and we're going to read about it right now from the Prabhupada Lilamrita. Bhaktivedanta Swami took stock of his meager possessions. He had only a suitcase, an umbrella, and a supply of dry cereal. The reason he brought the dry cereal, I guess it was oats or something, was that he was thinking there would not, here it's described. He did not know what he would find to eat in America. Perhaps there would be only meat. If so, he was prepared to live on boiled potatoes and the cereal. Shh. Can you imagine that determination? His main baggage, several trunks of his books, was being handled separately by Scindia Cargo. 203 volume sets. The very thought of the books gave him confidence. When the day came for him to leave, he needed that confidence. He was making a momentous break with his previous life, and he was dangerously old and not in strong health. And he was going to an unknown and probably unwelcoming country. To be poor and unknown in India was one thing, even in these Kali Yuga days, when India's leaders were rejecting Vedic culture and imitating the West. It was still India. It was still the remnants of Vedic civilization. He had been able to see millionaires, governors, prime ministers, simply by showing up at their doors and waiting. A sannyasi was respected. The Srimad Bhagavatam was respected, but in America it would be different. He would be no one, a foreigner. And there was no tradition of sadhus, no temples, no free ashrams. But when he thought of the books he was bringing, transcendental knowledge in English, he became confident. When he met someone in America, he would give him a flyer. Srimad Bhagavatam, India's message of peace from goodwill. It was August 13, just a few days before Janmashtami. Of course, talking about the Vedic day rather than the Western calendar day. The appearance day anniversary of Lord Krishna. The next day would be his own 69th birthday. During these last years, he had been in Vrindavan for Janmashtami. Many Vrindavan residents would never leave there. They were old and at peace in Vrindavan. Bhaktivedanta Swami was also concerned that he might die away from Vrindavan. That was why all the Vaishnava sadhus and widows had taken vows not to leave, even for Mathura, because to die in Vrindavan was the perfection of life. And the Hindu tradition was that a sannyasi should not cross the ocean and go to the land of the Malechas. That's us. But beyond all that was the desire of Srila Bhakti-Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and his desire was non-different from that of Lord Krishna. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had predicted that the chanting of Hare Krishna would be known in every town and village of the world. Bhaktivedanta Swami took a taxi down to the Calcutta port. A few friends and admirers, along with his son Vrindavan, accompanied him. He writes in his diary, today at 9 a.m. embarked on the MV Jaladuta. Came with me Bhagavati, the Dwaran of Sindhya Sanir, Mr. Sain Gupta, Mr. Ali, and Vrindavan. He was carrying a Bengali copy of Chaitanya Charitamrita, which he intended to read during the crossing. Or if not, he would somehow he would be able to cook on board. Or if not, he would starve, whatever Krishna desired. He checked his essentials, passenger ticket, passport, visa, P-form, sponsor's address. Finally was happening. Srila Prabhupada said, with what great difficulty I got out of the country. Some way or other, by Krishna's grace, I got out so that I could spread the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world. Otherwise, to remain in India, it was not possible. I wanted to start a movement in India, but I was not at all encouraged. The black cargo ship, small and weathered, was moored at dockside, a gangway leading from the dock to the ship's deck. Indian merchant sailors curiously eyed the elderly saffron-dressed sadhu as he spoke last words to his companions and then left them and walked determinedly toward the boat. For thousands of years, Krishna Bhakti had been known only in India, not outside, except in twisted, faithless reports by foreigners. And the only swamis to have reached America had been non-devotees, Mayavadi impersonalists. But now Krishna was sending Bhaktivedanta Swami as his emissary. So, okay, that's all I'll read right now. And now we'll go on to the Bhagavatam. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, 53rd chapter, text 57. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tam Manana Swabhivavam Yasha Shayam Pare Jarasanda Mukha Na Sahire Aho Dig Asman Yasha Ata Danvanam Gopayar Ritam Kesharinam Mrigar Iva Tambanina Swabhavi Tambanina Swabhivavam Yashakshayam. Pare jarasanda mukana sehire. Aho digasman yasha atta danvanam. Goparitam kisharinam rigariva. Tammanina sabhavam yashakshayam. Pare jarasanda mukana sehire. Aho digasman yashata danvanam. Goparitam kisharinam rigariva. Tammananasa vibhavam yashakshayam. Pare jarasana makana sehire. Aho digasman yashahata tanvanam. Goparitam kasharinam rigariva. All right. Tam, that. Manana, conceited. Swa, there. Abhibhavam, defeat. Yasha, their honor. Kshayam, running. Pare, the enemies. Jarasandamukha, headed by Jarasandha. Nasihire, could not tolerate. Aho, dik, condemnation. Asman, upon us. Yasha, the honor. Atadanvanam, of the archers. Gopai, by cowards. Ritam, taken away. Kishadanam, of lions. Mrigai, by small animals. Eva, as if. So translation, the kings inimical to the Lord, headed by Jarasandha, could not tolerate this humiliating defeat. They exclaimed, "Oh, damn us! Though we are mighty archers, mere cowards have stolen our honor, just as puny animals might steal the honor of lions." So you can repeat. The kings inimical to the Lord, headed by Jarasandha, could not tolerate this humiliating defeat. They exclaimed, "Oh, damn us! Though we are mighty archers, mere cowards have stolen our honor, just as puny animals might steal the honor of lions." So there's purport by the followers of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. For the last two verses of this chapter, it is clear that the perverted intelligence of demons makes them perceive things in a way exactly opposite to reality. It is clearly stated that Krishna stole Rukmini like a lion taking his prey from the midst of jackals. The demons, however, saw themselves as lions and Lord Krishna as an inferior creature. Without Krishna consciousness, life becomes most dangerous. And so the commentaries are quite interesting in this regard. So Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur states, finding the offense intolerable, they began to abuse the Yadavas. We are unfortunate because our fame has been stolen by coward men. And Jiva Goswami states, the enemies, Pare, who were proud, could not tolerate their defeat from which they lost fame, or they could not tolerate defeat and the loss of fame. Instead of Mukha, sometimes Vosha, under the control of his scene. We are unfortunate. So that's in reference to Jarasandha. We are unfortunate. The fame of kings with excellent bows in their hands has been stolen by a coward. The plural Gopai by cowards is used to indicate the Yadus because they followed Krishna. Since cowards have defeated us, our fame has been destroyed. Asmat Yasha is sometimes seen instead of Ajman Yasha. And finally, Sanatana Goswami. Their defeat was criticized because Krishna had directly taken away the bride. Because of this, their fame was destroyed. Since they could not do anything, or because their efforts to obtain a bride for Shishupal had failed. All the warriors, other than the Yadus Parai, could not tolerate this defeat because they were proud of their valor. Manina. So you hear this word here. The word Yasha, which means fame, is used twice in the verse, and Manina means pride, is used once in the verse. So you see this is an emphasis on their particular characteristic. Apart from the fact that they're demons, they're showing Kshatriya spirit, which we're going to talk about in a second. Or the enemies who were proud could not tolerate their defeat. Aho indicates lamentation. Though we had bows in our hands, our fame was stolen by cowards who hold only sticks in their hands and live in the forest and pay taxes. This is most improper. An example is given. The booty of the lions has been stolen by other animals, or the fame and prowess of great strength has been stolen when the small animals take the booty. They consider the Yadus who accompany Krishna to be cowards, thus the plural is yours, Gopai. Another version has Asmat Yasha, but this results in no relation to Ata Danvanam. Sridhar Swami has explained the meaning to be Asmat Ata Danvanam, which is easy to understand. The fame of us who hold bows has been stolen. Thus ends the purports of the humble servants of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, to the 10th canto, 23rd chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Krishna Kidnaps Rukmini. And again, the verse. Tammanina vibhavam yashakshayam pare jarasana mukana sehire aho digasman yashatatanvanam goparvatam kishadanam rigariva. So Omagana Tividandasha Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmeditam Yena Tasmai Shigarve Namaha. So before talking about the points in this verse, when I heard the name Jarasandha, I knew that he came from Magadha province. And I was just looking up a map to see where all the soldiers came from. I don't know if you can all see this, but this is a map of the late Vedic period. So it actually pretty much shows where the different soldiers came from and where Rukmini was. This is Vidarbha. Can everyone see that? That's like mid-south of India. And then you have Magadha, which is actually to the east, Magadha province. And then you have the Kuru dynasty up here. It's really, really interesting. And anyway, so I'll leave this map here later on so you can see where everyone came from. But you can see that Krishna came from Dwarka. I mean, he came such a long distance. If you look at Dwarka here, which is this little portion sticking up here, came all the way here overnight, and all these kings came from so far away. I mean, the Kshatriya spirit. I mean, it's not that they took a train or took a plane or anything like that to get there. They had to travel, unlike Krishna, they had to travel for days and days and days, or maybe weeks to get there because they were just so lusty after getting Rukmini. So it shows their great determination, because the Kshatriya is determined. We were talking about determination, Prabhupada's determination, because Prabhupada's determination is based upon transcendental goodness, Vishuddha Sattva. Dedication, what? To the pleasure, as we see reading from the biography, Prabhupada was dedicated to carrying out the order of his spiritual master. And Yasha Prasada, Bhagavat Prasada, Yasha Prasada, Tikatopi. Prabhupada was teaching us that this is the operative principle of spiritual life, carrying out the order of the spiritual master, and then all success is there. Shraddha Shraddha Bashar Shakahe Siddhita Nishya, one has that complete faith. So Kshatriya's determination is not based on that. It's based, mode of passion, at least these particular personalities we're talking about here, not transcendental Kshatriyas, is based on the mode of passion. And the mode of passion, you have unlimited desires. And one of those unlimited desires is in relationship to lusty affairs. And so the Kshatriyas were in that mood. So anyway, so I thought that was quite interesting to see how far away everyone traveled to this marriage ceremony. So another thing about Jarasandha that I found was interesting. Jarasandha, of course, is a demon named Viprachiti who took birth on the earth planet to actually carry out the functions of the demons. So Jarasandha's history is quite interesting. I'm not going to tell the story about Jarasandha being born in two parts because that's really not applicable. But he is, all right, so let's start a little history. Once upon a time, there was a king, Vasu, who was also the father of Satyavati. It's very interesting. And this is actually related by Rita Nandamarjan's very excellent rendition of the Mahabharata, where he describes that King Vasu had 5 sons and 1 daughter. And he knew the daughter was going to be the mother of an avatar. Anyone know who that avatar is? No. Vyasadeva. Satyavati. So he knew that, and so, but he also knew, somehow or other he knew astrologically that one of his sons would be a nice guy, but one of his grandsons would be a demon, and that demon would want to kill her. So in order to protect her, he put her in a fisherman's village. And, there's a story in the Mahabharata about, in one edition of the Mahabharata, how she came out of a fish and everything like that. But I appreciate reading Anand Maharaj's edition much more. It's much more practical. There's actually so many different editions of the Mahabharata. So anyway, so he put her in a fishing village, and because she had to be hidden so that she would later on encounter Parashara Muni and give birth to Srila Vyasadeva. So, very interesting. So that's Jarasandha who's mentioned here. So, anyway, so in this particular verse, it talks about the Kshatriyas very much attached to fame and prestige and everything like that. And this particular point is made very strongly in the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna is trying to convince Arjuna to fight. This is before Krishna brings out all the philosophy and everything like that. He's trying to convince Arjuna to fight. And he states, if you do not perform this is second chapter, text 33 and 34. If, however, you do not perform this religious duty of fighting, then you will certainly incur sins from neglecting your duties and thus lose your reputation. And here the word for reputation is kirtim. You'll lose your reputation as a fighter. And Prabhupada talks about in the purport, which I'm going to read, how reputation is so important, especially when all these buggies are eating me from the garland. It says, Arjuna was a famous fighter, and he attained fame by fighting many great demigods, including even Lord Shiva. After fighting and defeating Lord Shiva in the dress of a hunter, Arjuna pleased the Lord and received as a reward a weapon called Prashupata. Everyone knew he was a great warrior. Even Dronacharya gave him benedictions and awarded him the special weapon by which he could kill even his teacher. So he was credited with so many military certificates from many authorities, including his adopted father Indra, the heavenly king. But if he abandoned the battle, not only would he neglect his specific duty as a Kshatriya, but he would lose all fame and good name, and thus prepare his royal road to hell. In other words, he would go to hell by not fighting, but by withdrawing from the battle. Another verse here, where Krishna is also trying to convince Arjuna. People will always speak of your infamy, and for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death. So this is the mood of the Kshatriya. Very, very interested in their own reputation. And you contrast that with a Brahmin. Let's take Lord Rishabhadeva, for example, who basically, as the king, he acted as a Kshatriya. But when he renounced everything, he showed a complete disinterest in any sort of reputation or any sort of appreciation from anybody. He, performed this jata yoga. So that's actually Krishna conscious. And so I have a lot more quotes here, but we don't have time to read them. So what happens is that many times in religious societies, we have people with Kshatriya moods who come to the forefront and take, not only in the Krishna conscious movement, but in many religious societies, people with Kshatriya moods who come to the forefront and they become leaders because of their desire for what? Profit, adoration, distinction. And Lord Kapila recognizes this. He in his analysis of devotional service or devotees in different modes of nature, he talks about devotees in the mode of passion. He says the worship of deities in the temple by a separatist with a motive for material enjoyment, fame, and opulence is devotion in the mode of passion. And Prabhupada explains the word separatist. The word separatist must be understood carefully. The Sanskrit words in this connection are bina, drik, and pritag bhava. A separatist is one who sees his interest as separate from that of the Supreme Lord. Mixed devotees or devotees in the modes of passion and ignorance think that the interest of the Supreme Lord is supplying the orders of the devotee. The interest of such devotees is to draw from the Lord as much as possible for their sense gratification. So it's a great danger, this narcissistic tendency that comes from the mode of passion. And we have to be very, very careful of that. Of course, we see, the quintessential example of that is Ravan, who was always declaring himself as Ishwaraham Ham Bhogi Siroham Balavan Sukhi, as Krishna states in the Bhagavad Gita. I'm perfect, powerful, happy, I'm the supreme controller. But he used to call himself, what? Lankeshwara. Can you imagine? Like, let's say if you had, I don't want to say guru, but let's say the President of the United States, I am America or United States, Ishvara. So this really happens, and you see that leaders, even spiritual leaders who have disciples, they can think that they're the possessors or the controllers of their disciples or controllers of a particular temple. Even I remember there was one temple many, many years ago where a person was saying that I'm going to leave this temple to my children when I pass away. So this is a tendency that is a very dangerous tendency, because those in the mode of passion tend to generally rise to the top in leadership positions. So how to avoid this? Very, very interesting. There has to be association of devotees and checks and balances, so that we don't have abuse of power in the Krishna conscious movement or any religious society. So anyway, so we have one more minute. Any questions or comments? Yes. He was concerned for his preaching purposes. He wasn't concerned because he wanted to control, he wanted to enjoy this world. How do we distinguish that? We have to be introspective to see. Is it because I want to be, profit, adoration, distinction, which is subtle sex life, which is I want to be appreciated for the sake of appreciation, or I want to have good reputation because it will facilitate me in my service? So it's a question of introspection. What is our motive? I think each and every one of us should continually examine our motives in performing devotional service. And really that's what Lord Kapiladev talks about in his ascertainment of different devotees in different modes of nature. What is their motive for doing service? And you know, and I know best, if I can think clearly, what my motive is.
Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Samasitam Buddha Sun Gauranga Kandar Ako Vikamaniya Vishesha Shobha Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasa Sakale Kriya Priti Manti Vasyanti Panti Kayanti Jiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham
Namo Vishnu Pataya Krishna Prastaya Putale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Samaniti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gurvani Pacha Negini Visesha Shunyavati Matsyajanti Satarande Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shiva Sati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Radha Shiva Sati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Radha Shiva Sati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Hare, Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Radha, go looking on a Radha, go looking on the dragon. Radha, go looking on a Radha, go looking on the dragon. No, Radhe. Radhe, Radhe, Jaya Radhe. Radhe, 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 Jaya Radhe. Radhe Jai